Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Real Talk Network podcast. My name is Omar. I'm joined by Yusuf, Suleiman, Abdul, and Jamil. And this is going to be our first podcast. And Abdul's going to start off with what we're going to do today.
We've got a great episode for you guys today. We're going to be talking about the top three prospects in all or of the major positions in football. We're also going to be we're going to give our own mock drafts. We're also going to be talking about hot takes, very early Super Bowl projections, and who is the next Josh Rosen in this draft.
All right, well, let's get into it.
All right, to start off with our top three prospects in every position, let's start off with the quarterback position. My first overall is Trevor Lawrence. I'm pretty sure that everyone else here thinks the same.
Yeah, I mean, Trevor Lawrence is
I had
just.
Meg Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, I mean, Trevor Lawrence is just, consensus, just the top QB off the board. He has the talent, he has the athletic ability, he has the throwing power, he just has the overall package. I feel like not many people have Zach Wilson going first. I mean, Trevor Lawrence is just unanimous, just the first.
Yeah, he's the next Andrew Luck. He has everything you need in a QB. He's got the height, the arm power. He even has speed. He's low-key quick too. He's just really good.
Yeah,
Unbelievable.
you also can't forget the hair, dude. That dude could
Oh,
be
yeah.
the face of
Flow.
the franchise for sure.
Yeah, the flow.
Have you guys seen he's donating to the Jaguars charities already because
I
mean,
Jaguars
They gave
fans
him wedding gifts,
Yeah.
so I saw that. So and he
Yeah,
said
that's
he had like a
pretty cool.
tweet and he said, "I'm hoping to join your community soon." So he knows that he's going number one overall.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, he knows.
also Trevor Lawrence has also been expected to be like the best quarterback
Ever
he's
since
been
high
playing
school.
in high school. Yeah,
Dude, I remember seeing high school.
and he's
clips
lived
of
up
him.
to those expectations.
Yeah, he's insane.
Pretty much every checkbox there is for a quarterback, he checks off.
I agree.
Facts.
So the next quarterback I have personally going off the board, and I'm sure a lot of people also have, is Zach Wilson. I also think he has a similar skill sets as Trevor Lawrence, not up to that level, but he's extremely good quarterback. He played for BYU. He did very well for them. They didn't have that many weapons, so I just think he's a strong quarterback and easily there for the second overall.
I agree with that. I think that the Jets are going to take him second overall. Obviously, they traded Sam Darnold for a second, a fourth, and a sixth. So there's an open quarterback spot in New York. So I think that they're going to take him second overall. He had 33 touchdowns and 3 interceptions in only 12 games last year. He had a great season. You've seen that he started only a couple games in 2019, but he started a full year last year. And he had a great season. He had a great pro day. He had that one across the body throw that everyone just kept retweeting.
That was
everyone
Aaron Rodgers.
Everyone is insane on him. I personally think that he's the third best quarterback in the draft, but it's people think that he's second best, and I see that the Jets taking him.
Yeah, I think Zach Wilson is number 3. I think a lot of people put him at number 2 because of his play style. He's extremely flashy, so it's very easy to be infatuated with his play style and really like him. And I think that play style, those throws you see him make on pro day, it all comes down and it makes you overlook some of his weaknesses because he definitely has some. Also, I think a lot of people are overlooking the importance of prolonged success in the quarterback position.
Yep.
I think that's why Zach Wilson's my number 3. If you guys want to do a little game really quick, I have 2 stat lines, okay, for 2 quarterbacks. So the first quarterback is 3,692 yards, 33 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. The second quarterback is 3,750 yards, 30 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. You guys want to guess who the first one and the second one is?
Bro, the second one's Trubisky, bro. It has to be. It
Oh
has
The
my
to
first
be,
one's
bro.
Zach Wilson. So I think that looking at stats, it's very easy to get fooled sometimes. Zach Wilson is a good player. I'm not saying he's going to be the next Mitchell Trubisky, but I think that there are some buyer bewares, especially because there are some similarities between how Zach Wilson and Mitchell Trubisky are coming out of college.
I don't know.
Yeah.
People
Go
have
ahead.
compared Mitchell Trubisky to Justin Herbert last year. I was literally watching YouTube videos of it and stuff, and I was like, "Dang, bro, Justin Herbert, he's gonna." I remember seeing a video. It was like, "Why Justin Herbert is the next Mitchell Trubisky?" I'm like, "Dang, this dude sucks," and then wins the Rookie of the Year, freaking one of the best rookie QBs in history. Just insane. I don't know.
Yeah,
You can
I'm
go
not
both
saying he's
ways.
going to be the
Yeah.
next Mitchell Trubisky. I'm
But-
just saying
Yeah, but when you think about it, Zach Wilson is also just much better talent than Mitchell Trubisky was coming out of college, because Mitchell Trubisky, even in college, struggled to throw past his first read. Zach Wilson knows how to decision make well. He knows how to scramble in the pocket well, and he can bomb it down the field. He's proven it in games. I could see why you could make the case for the third, as him being the third quarterback overall. I still think Zach Wilson would be the second, just comparable to the other quarterbacks. I feel like most people are going to have Justin Fields as the second or third. I'm sure that's what you have as your second if you have Zach Wilson as your third. But I think, yeah, I could see why. But Zach Wilson's also just much better talent than Mitchell Trubisky was coming out of college.
Oh yeah, for sure, 100%.
One thing I do want to add about Zach Wilson is I'm a really big fan of his arm and those throws he can make, because you see some quarterbacks just can't make those type of throws when they're throwing 50-yard bombs. Like, it's one of a kind to like Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, and Aaron Rodgers, those quarterbacks. One stat I found that scares me a lot about Zach Wilson is he had a TD ratio of 7 touchdowns to 9 interceptions against teams with 9+ wins. And given that he played in a pretty weak conference and just weak teams in general, I'm afraid that his stats are inflated because he's just beating up on bad defenses and bad teams. So that's one thing that kind of scares me, and it's why I have Zach Wilson at 3 instead of 2.
Yeah, that's a good point. So Joseph, you said you had Justin Fields most likely at 3. I saw you nodding your head when I said it, so I want to get your opinion on that.
2.
All right, 2. My bad. I had 2.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, so I think that Justin Fields is number 2 because he's had very successful years prolonged, especially 2019. He threw for 3,200 yards, 41 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions, which is actually insane. 41 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. 2020, he also had a very good season. It was, cut down because of COVID. There were less games he played. Still threw for 22 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. But to be honest, I'm gonna stand with the stats don't mean everything, and I think that Justin Fields just has he's a little better than Zach Wilson because he has some more speed. He ran a 4.44, and that 4.44 was actually a little slower than what he wanted because he stumbled both of the times he ran his 40 on the pro day, and he thought he could have done it a little faster. I also think that Justin Fields has insane accuracy. When you watch him, he puts the ball, especially in the red zone, in places where only a receiver can catch him. And I think that's very overlooked. I think his biggest weakness is pocket awareness, which is what a lot of people have him knocked on. But if he goes to somewhere like the 49ers, where it's an emphasis on getting the ball out quickly, then he'll be an insane quarterback. At least he has the making to be one if he lands in that circumstance.
I agree. I think he's a solid quarterback.
I agree with that, especially because, like Joseph said, when he has prolonged success in several years with Zach Wilson before in 2019 he played 7 or 9 games and he didn't do very well, and especially when you're looking at the division, Justin Fields plays in the Big Ten. There's great competition within the Big Ten. Obviously, it's not the SEC, but it's still much better than the division that Zach Wilson played in. And when you take into account the type of competition that he's playing against, as well as the amount of success that he's had, 41 touchdowns and 3 interceptions, that's insane. And then last year he could have had another great stat line, but his season was cut down to 6 games only. The only thing, there's some injury concerns he was battling with injuries towards the end of the year, but I just like him overall as a prospect. He's a great runner. I think that if he went to the 49ers, he would be great, and that's why I have him at number 2.
Yeah, and one thing about Justin Fields is he's not exactly run first, even though he could be. I think he does at least one read, and I think he gets through his reads pretty well before he does go and look for that lane to run in. And that's something you see from some of the best quarterbacks that are dual threat. So I also like that about him.
I think it's ridiculous how some people are saying that he doesn't love football. Yeah, I have no idea where that's coming from. I've seen him literally chase down his own receiver to block. It's insane. I don't know where that's coming from. I don't know how you even determine that.
I've seen
Yeah,
him get he even got knocked out in one of the games and he came back like right after and threw a touchdown on the first play. Like people saying that I think that's just just an effort to kill his draft stock because I've been saying, Dan Orlovsky was saying he is the last one in and the first one out. I don't know where he's getting that information from, but to say that Justin Fields doesn't love football is just so stupid and just trying to kill his draft stock. It doesn't make sense.
I mean,
I think-
I think Darren Orlovsky's the same guy who said Jordan Love was a genius pick. So, I think there's something wrong with his head.
I think people are just desperate for hot takes at this point,
Yeah.
especially with just bogus takes. So let's move on to the running back position. I'm sure a lot of people have sort of similar picks for their first two running backs, with being Najee Harris and Travis Etienne. So personally, I have Najee Harris as the number one pick for running back, then out of Alabama. Then I have Etienne as the number two pick coming out of Clemson. So let me get your thoughts on that.
I think that Najee Harris is the best running back out of this draft class. I could see him going towards going in the bottom of the first round to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think that he would fit great within that offense. I like Najee Harris because his patch catching ability. He's a great runner. He had 6.7 yards per game in 2018, then 5.9 in 2019, and 5.8. And one crazy stat about him: he's never fumbled. That is insane to never fumble. Just looking at his play style is just enamoring. Like the way he runs, the way he catches the ball, and especially just playing in Alabama and playing in the SEC. That division, they're playing against the greatest D linemen. They're playing against the greatest linebackers in college football. So I love Najee Harris and I have him as my number one.
I think I saw a highlight of him like hurdling a dude and it was insane. Like, he's got athletic ability. He's a beast.
Very athletic, yeah, very
Yeah,
athletic.
he's very athletic.
I think he's probably the most entertaining running back to watch in college just because of how big he is. He's got that NFL size already. Like he's 6'2", 230, so he's huge. And then he also has a bit of like agileness to him. I saw a lot of player comps to Derrick Henry, and it's hard to compare someone like when the NFL player's that established and that good. But I like that comparison just because he does have that speed and that sort of size comparable to Derrick Henry.
Just a beast.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I want to add is, I mean, yeah, especially for Najee's size, he also ran a 4.45 on his pro day.
That is
Or
Yeah,
not?
before
It
four.
actually wasn't his pro day. Sorry, it was a different clock, and that was a little earlier in his career. So he actually could be running faster than a 4.45.
Yeah, I mean, there's no denying he's an athletic freak. I mean, the dude is just a demon. Whenever you see the ball, like Jamil said, he's fun to watch. I mean, I like watching him run the ball always. Compared to Travis Etienne, yeah, Etienne's a good running back out of Clemson. I think he's more of just kind of like that pass catching, sort of like a blocking type of running back. I mean, I don't really know if he's on par with Najee Harris. I feel like Najee Harris is gonna explode. But Travis Etienne, I feel like it's gonna be kind of in the second round type running back.
I have ETN as the better running back. I think
ETN.
that
I do as well. Yeah.
Here, I'll explain why. ETN actually averaged 7.2 yards per carry over his entire career on Clemson. The kid he can catch and he can run the ball both equally as well, and they're both extreme. He does them extremely efficiently and extremely well.
Yeah, he's very
I
smart.
think,
Yeah.
yeah, the biggest thing for like his knocks, right? From what I've seen, is his pass blocking is a little poor, and he has some ball concerns. I mean, ball security concerns. But like, I mean, Najee Harris was fifth in Heisman voting, but like ETN was seventh in 2018 and then ninth in 2019. So he had 2 years where he was considered to be like Heisman worthy. So I don't know. I just really like ETN because I think he's a little more. I don't know. He's
Well-rounded?
better as a receiver.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that just gives him an edge because I really like receivers running backs who are really good at both. Like I think a lot of people give him a player comp similar to like Kamara or something.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I'm definitely
No,
not
it's
saying he's gonna be
understandable.
Kamara.
Yeah,
but
it's understandable. I think the reason why I have Najee Harris is because of just that athletic ability, and especially at running back, I feel like that's more of a value at running back nowadays. than just Travis Etienne being more. I mean, yeah, you can be an intelligent running back, but once you have that power, you can't be stopped. I mean, look at Derrick Henry. The dude just runs it up the middle always, and always just breaks out for a touchdown. So when you have that power, I think that's more value.
Yeah, these two running backs are definitely like the one and two. It
Mhm.
Yeah.
I don't think it matters too much about where you have them between one and two. I think you have a good case for both of them having a very good career in the NFL.
I
And when
agree.
you talk about Travis Etienne, how he had around 7 yards per carry throughout his career,
7.2.
7.2. It's even better when you see that in 2018 he had 8.1, 2019 he had 7.8, and then last year he took a little bit of he decreased because the Clemson wasn't that great last year, or they were good, but they definitely took a dive off from what they used to be in 2018 and 2019. And you even had Trevor Lawrence, who was out for some time with coronavirus. So I think that Travis Etienne is a solid prospect. Like you said, number two, or you have him number one, but I have him as number two. Number one and number two, they're pretty close. Travis Etienne even having 110 yards per game and 107 yards per game in 2018 and 19. Just watching him and Trevor Lawrence in that Clemson offense was just beautiful. I think that him as a pass catcher is great. He could work well with whatever team he goes to, and I'd see him most likely going in the early second round, as I see that if there may be one or two teams that are looking to take a running back in the first round, not many, but I think that he should succeed in the NFL.
One knock I did saw on Travis Etienne is that most of his successful run plays come when he's going on the outside. And that's something that sometimes doesn't translate into the NFL specifically well, just because when you're in the NFL, those linebackers, those defensive ends, the safeties, they all have like a higher athletic profile than college players. So sometimes getting to that outside is a little harder. And that's the only reason why I have Najee Harris as my number one.
Who do you
Yeah,
guys
I
have?
think that's fair.
Who do you guys have as number three?
Trey
Like,
Uh,
Sermon.
is Trey Sermon?
I mean,
Go ahead
after
and then.
yeah, after those two, it just
There's a drop off, obviously.
yeah,
After
there's
those
a
two.
decent
There's
drop off.
someone I know like
It's
Chuba
definitely a
Hubbard
different tier.
is a beast. I know like this guy
Um,
from Memphis. He's cool. He's
Yeah,
really
the,
good.
You guys want to go
North
over your three
Carolina has
really
some
quick?
decent running backs as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they have two really good ones. You guys want to go over your three really quick? I'll go over my third. Mine's Javante Williams. He's from UNC. He's a great power runner. He doesn't go down on the first tackle. He runs people over, and it's really fun to watch somebody like that. It could definitely be like a goal line back. I don't think he is. I don't think he could be like a bell cow like a three down back like ETN or Najee, but like he definitely could be like first 1, 2 in goal line situations because
Yeah.
his receiving isn't that great, but it's not bad either. But you know,
So he's
it's
kind of
just
like the 2018 Jordan Howard.
something like that. I think people I saw someone saying like maybe a Josh Jacobs type of player.
Yeah, I see. I see.
Personally, my third running back was Trey Sermon out of Ohio State. He averaged 7.1 and 7.5 yards per carry in 2019 and 2020. And what brought my attention to him really was that 331-yard performance in the college football playoff semifinal. The way he runs is angry. He's not an incredible receiver. I haven't really seen much of him receiving wise, as compared to like Najee Harris or Travis Etienne. But obviously, like we said, there's a drop off between the top two prospects and then the third. But I think that he could be a serviceable. I think that he could be that three down back in the NFL.
Yeah, I got the same guy as Joseph, Javante Williams from UNC. He's just got really good balance, and whenever you have those running backs with really good balance, they seem like they're impossible to bring down, and that's just why I like him.
For me, it's Chuba Hubbard. I don't know if you guys know him. He's very productive, and he's like more. He doesn't have the size, but he's got like the quickness. That's why I like him a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like the UNC running backs. But I had Trey Sermon, like Abdul said. I agree with all his points too about him. I think he'll be a solid just running back for a late pick. So for our next topic, we're just gonna be talking about the wide receivers in the draft. I actually think this is gonna be the most exciting one since this has a lot of debate for the top three. So let's just start off by naming what we think would be the top three wide receivers, which is Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, and Devontae Smith. So let's see what you guys have for that.
I know
think for
Jamil. Yeah, Jamil wanted to say something. He has a
yeah,
hot take.
I think for sure that those are all of our top three guys because after there's a clear drop off. For me, my favorite guy is Devonte Smith. It's super close to Jamar Chase. I'm splitting hairs here, but I just like Devonte Smith better. I think that Devonte Smith's skill set is easier to translate, whereas Jamar Chase, he has elite speed and elite athleticism for a college level, but to be honest, I don't think it's elite NFL speed or elite NFL athleticism. And I don't know if he's going to be able to bully cornerbacks like he bullied them in college. So that's just why I have Devonte Smith. Also, opting out in 2020 definitely hurts Jamar Chase a little bit, and that's just another reason I put Devonte Smith above.
I don't think Devontae. Like, I have him as my third best because I don't think his size is gonna translate well to the NFL at all. I think that he's just too small, and I haven't seen like crazy route running ability. Like I know I don't know. I don't know. I don't see anything special out of him in my opinion. I don't think he has the size.
I kind of disagree with Saul. I think the dude has good route running ability and is very athletic. But I want to bring up the point, if Jalen Waddle wasn't injured, would Devontae Smith have the season that he had? Because Jalen Waddle was the wide receiver one before Devontae Smith got injured. And another point I want to bring up is that I have Jamar Chase as my number one wide receiver because when you look at when he played with LSU, he was the wide receiver one when Justin Jefferson was also on that team. And then you look at how Justin Jefferson transitioned to the NFL. What does that mean for Jamar Chase, who was better than Justin Jefferson at the time? I think Jamar Chase has the best transition to the NFL player out of those three. I think Jalen Waddle is very athletic, but of course he has the injury concern. So I would place him at number three. I have Jamar Chase at number one, Jalen Waddle at number three, and Devontae Smith at number two. And I think that's just how I preferably see it.
With my order, I have Jamar Chase at number one. I have Devontae Smith at number two, and then I have Jalen Waddle at number three. Jamar Chase, just watching him, his play style, like Jamil said, he has elite speed, but I don't know if that's going to be very much elite in the NFL. His route running ability, his receiving is insane. Just to watch him play, he's so entertaining. And then you have Devontae Smith, who had the Heisman year. He had in his career at Alabama, he had 47 games, 3,965 yards and 47 touchdowns. And then when you look at the stats, they're pretty similar to Jamar Chase, as Jamar Chase had 24 games, 2,093 yards, and 23 touchdowns. Obviously, Jamar Chase having a year off sort of hurts his draft stock a little bit. I'm sure that he'll definitely still be a top 10 pick, but it hurts a little bit because you don't know how he would perform. I think that it would have hurt his draft stock actually if he played this year because he doesn't have Joe Burrow. He doesn't have Heisman Joe Burrow throwing him the ball. If he had, I don't even know who the quarterback at LSU is right now. If he had that guy throwing him the ball, I don't think that he puts up the same season that he did with Burrow, and that's pretty much an obvious. So, but with Jalen Waddle, I like Jalen Waddle overall. He has a bit of injury concerns, but Jalen Waddle, 31 games, 1,999 yards, and 17 touchdowns. He played in an elite wide receiver core. He played with Judy, Ruggs, Devontae Smith. Alabama is known for being wide receiver university. So Jalen Waddle is a very, very solid prospect, and I think that he'll be another top 15 pick. But I think that Devontae Smith and Jamar Chase just have better promise over him.
Yeah, I'm on the same boat of Jamar Chase being one, Devontae Smith being two, and Waddle being three. But I think I have a little bit different reasonings behind than you and Omar. So I kind of agree with Jamil that Jamar Chase, he relies a little too much on his physical abilities. And that's why he was able to produce so much in college. But his fundamentals definitely need some polishing up. There are a lot of concerns about his route running in terms of it being a little lackluster, and he didn't show off a lot of, a lot of creativity with his routes. He ran pretty standard routes. Devontae Smith, on the other hand, the kid is insane with his fundamentals. Right, his release is great. His hand, he wins. He wins with his hands. He gets open. He creates separation, and he runs his route through. I don't know. I don't know where you got the. He's not a good route runner
It's a
because
slander.
that I don't know.
I just don't like him. I don't
There's
know.
no way a dude who has size like that can can do well as a receiver with bad route running. It just
Yeah.
wouldn't happen.
I think
Go ahead if you want to defend
I
that.
think Jalen Waddle is just the better overall wide receiver. I think he's the more ideal NFL wide receiver. That's why I just like Jalen Waddle much more. And I think Devontae Smith, I think I was kind of tweaking because yeah, you're right. I think that like with his size, I don't know how he's doing this good. I guess yeah, he probably does have good route running and like crazy release. And the thing with
Yeah.
Jamar Chase is that I know you guys like don't like him, but for me, why I like him so much is that if he put that like if he had a better season than Justin Jefferson that year, and Justin Jefferson's insane, like I feel like Jamar Chase is just crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah.
yeah, but just to be clear, me, Omar, and Abdul, I'll have Jamar Chase as our number one. I
Yeah.
think Devontae
Oh, okay.
Smith. I think why I have Jamar Chase over Devontae Smith is I think that Jamar Chase can improve a lot in terms of like his route running and all of the other like negatives versus like Devontae Smith. His weight is going to be a concern. He went to Bama and he put on like about like 5 pounds while he was at Bama, so his weight is always going to be an issue most likely.
Yep.
I saw this
So
thing that Devontae Smith, he's 6 pounds. They're like the lightest kicker in the league is Cairo Santos at 160 pounds, and he's only 6 pounds lighter, and he's 15 pounds lighter than the lightest receiver in the league. And when you look at his height, he's what he measured at 6 feet. So to have that build be about he measured around or he weighed around 160 pounds, he definitely needs to put on some weight so he can handle himself in the league. But I don't think that's too much of a concern that people are making it out to be.
yeah, I agree. I don't think it's a concern because Devontae Smith put up production against cornerbacks who are projected to go in like the first and second round. So
But then
he was getting jammed and he was able to get it out. So I mean he'll struggle because the cornerbacks are going to be more physical, but he'll find a way. I really truly believe that.
But then you also have to remember, with him having a small physique and him going to the NFL, they do not hit like they do in college. This man will get blasted to the ground. He's gonna take some hard hits, and with him being as small as he is, he could be even more injury prone than Jalen Waddle is, even though that dude's injury prone in himself. But yeah, I think if he just masters everything a little bit more, he'll be solid. He'll be solid in the NFL. I do think Jamar Chase is a better receiver, a better prospect at the wide receiver position. I think he'll transfer well in the NFL. But
I think Jamil wanted to add something.
yeah,
Yeah, I love Devontae Smith, and I do see his size as a problem. But with the way the NFL's implemented so many rules to protect their wide receivers, I think the size is less of a factor than a lot of people think it is because the hits that we see wide receiver takes are nothing like the hits they were taking 10 years ago. So I think a lot of people still live with that fear that your wide receiver is going to get blown up, blindside hit, but that just doesn't happen anymore. And if it does, like it's just a once in a blue moon type of play, honestly.
Can I add something? I think that
Sure.
most people are overreacting to size for both of these prospects. I think people are
Mhm.
overreacting to Jamar Chase's size. They compare him to Julio, but I think he's 6 foot tall. Julio's 6'4", right?
Somewhere around there, yeah.
Yeah, like I mean he's don't get me wrong, he's big, but like he's not Julio, he's not Megatron. People like to make comparisons to him, but he I don't think he doesn't have the height at least.
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I think it's because they see him going against college cornerbacks. But once they see him going against NFL cornerbacks, they'll see the size difference, and they'll see that he can't actually play as big as he used to in college. So I agree
There are
with that.
also a lot of small wide receivers in the draft. I know, like, I think Kadarius Toney and Randall Moore, they're both under like 6 foot, and they're like pretty projected, pretty high. So
I mean, Jalen Waddle's pretty small. He's 5'10", 182, I think I've written down here. So he's not the biggest guy either. And I don't know. I'm always afraid of the speedsters in drafts because every year we have some guy who runs a sub 4.3 that gets drafted way too high.
Henry
And
Ruggs.
I'd say as of recently, most of those guys have busted.
Yeah, like the Chiefs when they drafted. Oh, I'm sorry, I blanked on the name. Who was the
Miko
wide receiver?
Hardman.
Tyreek
Yeah,
Hill?
Miko Hardman.
Oh,
Michael
And
Hart,
then you
Byron
have Henry
Pringle.
Ruggs.
Tyreek Hill
You
and
have
Was Byron
John-
Pringle a speedster?
They're all kind of speedsters
Yeah.
on the Chiefs, but Mecole Hardman's like the specific guy they brought in
Yeah,
from the
like
draft.
Mecole Hardman, when they drafted him, they were like that. They were expecting Tyreek Hill to be out with a suspension, and they wanted him to fill that role, like
Yeah, I see.
specifically.
Tyreek Hill,
Or
he was drafted pretty late, right? Like he
He
was
was
a
drafted in
later
like the
round.
Yeah, he was.
160s. He was in like the 5th round.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
crazy.
Or you can, yeah. I mean, the speedsters always hit in the later rounds. I mean, look at Darnell Mooney. You know,
It's
in the
kind of
fifth
funny. The
round.
Packers took a
You
wide
know, you look
receiver
at
with 2 picks
MVS.
before Tyreek Hill.
So now we're gonna move on to the O line, and I feel like a lot of people sort of have this order down, but there might be some switches. But I just want to get you guys' thoughts on this.
I'm going number 1. It's I mean I hope it's unanimous. Penei Sewell. I mean Yosef's shaking his head, but just looking at him, just straight out of Oregon, he's a great run blocker. Just watching him play, you see how angry he is. You see that he's a once in a generation prospect. I mean, there are other prospects. This offensive tackle draft class is very very deep. You see so many prospects. You see Rashawn Slater, Christian Darrisaw, Tevin Jenkins, Elijah Vera Tucker. There's so many prospects, but Penei Sewell is one that I feel is generational.
I agree. I think Penei Sewell is just a crazy athletic blocker. Very explosive. I have him as my number 1, but I also have Rashawn Slater as my close 2. Rashawn Slater, just a demon on the offensive line. Everyone knows he held up Chase Young, so he definitely is proven to hold up NFL caliber edge rushers or defensive linemen. So he's definitely really good, but I feel like Penei Sewell definitely has that better projection in the future.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Penei Sewell because all the things you guys both mentioned, and then I read about some of his fundamentals he has as a tackle, and apparently his hand placement and like stuff like that is some of the best that they've seen out of like the other draft prospects. So along with the size, he's got the fundamentals down of playing a tackle.
Yeah. I, I, I have Slater at 1, but I'll talk about Swell a little bit because that's who we're talking about right now. Um, I think that he has all of the physical attributes to be one of the best tackles in the league. And I think that's why a lot of people have him at 1. I do think that people are sleeping heavily on Slater, though. I think that people are overreacting to the size difference. Slater's only about an inch shorter. He has a little smaller reach. I think Slater had a I think people were overstating Slater's reach in terms of like it was being a little short, but in reality, it's on the shorter side of an NFL tackle, but it's still in the realm where tackles in the NFL can still succeed with that arm length. So I also saw some weird when I was looking into Petty Sewell, like people were saying, "Oh, he's a great leader," but then there are concerns with his work ethic, which doesn't make sense at all. I don't know how you could be a great leader in a locker room and then have a bad work ethic. So I
Just
don't know
bad hot
which of those.
takes.
Yeah, I just don't know which of those reports to believe. From what I saw when he was hoisting up Justin Herbert after they won uh, the Rose Bowl, I would assume that he's a great leader because you know
And yeah, great in the locker room and everything. Yeah, I would
Wasn't
think
yeah
so too.
yeah
I would think
wasn't
so.
Rashawn Slater's like problem that he didn't have like the arm length though? I don't think it
yeah
was
that's
the height.
the
I think it
reach.
was the reach. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
Yeah.
So I think we can transition to Slater. So Slater, as Omar mentioned, did hold up Chase Young. He only allowed one pressure when he was up against Chase Young, and that was in 2019. Slater and Sewell both opted out this season for people who weren't aware. So it's you can't really take that as like a knock against either of them because I mean you can't put one over the other because one played this season and one didn't. I really like Slater because I think his fundamentals are just a lot better, not a lot better, but they're better than Penny Sewell's. And I'm not saying Penny Sewell's are bad; they're really good too. But like Slater is just amazing in terms of like his hand placement. Even though that his reach is short, so there are problems with him getting to a lineman's chest because he has to like reach another inch or something. But just if when you watch the tape, the kid knows how to play tackle. He knows
Yeah.
how to play the line. He knows how to hold up against somebody. And when you watch him against Chase Young, you see, okay, this is Chase Young. He's he's already one of the top edge rushers in the league right now, and he was able to do it against him. So I'm sure he could do it against anyone else in the NFL. So I just like that. I think that's a little more proven, and I think people are just really overreacting to this size difference when it's not really there. It's there, but it shouldn't be as big of a deal. And I think a lot of people are realizing it because Slater is. If you guys looked at mock drafts from, like towards the at the very end of the college football season to like right now, Slater has gone up from like being like pick like 16 to like now he's like almost definitely going to be a top 10 pick.
hmm
So
I
I
mean,
think
he
people have
was
realized that.
projected like late first earlier. In
Yeah,
the,
dude. Yeah. It's crazy how much he's moved, and
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, I mean those
I
are really good points, but I mean, like I said, I don't think he has the potential to be better than Pee Wee Snell, but no, they're very good points in my opinion.
One thing I will say is Slater played both positions of tackle, right and left tackle, and that's a really nice thing to have for your team when there's injuries. So I also think that's a big plus to add. Where I think Sewell only played left tackle.
And going off of that, when he played left tackle in 2019, he allowed no sacks or QB hits. Like, Rashawn Slater is a great prospect. I definitely see him going top 10. I don't know what team he would go to. Possibly the Dolphins, if Sewell is taken by the Bengals. But he's a great prospect. Watching the footage of him versus Chase Young, it's incredible because Chase Young is one of the top edge rushers in his rookie year. He was Defensive Rookie of the Year. If he can hold his own against that, he is made for the NFL, and he's a great prospect.
Yeah, I think Sewell's gonna be picked higher though, because of the upside. Because like the last few drafts, like teams have been just going upside. Look at Mekhi Becton. Like he's like the only good Jets player on the team. Like it's insane.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Sewell
I
might
agree.
drop if there's a video leak.
No, no work no more.
Player becomes cool.
I don't think so.
All right, well, let's get everyone's their third pick on the offensive lineman. So personally, I have Christian Darrisaw. So I think he's just very good with Virginia Tech. I think he's solid, and I mean the tackle class is deep in this draft. So, but for him, I just think he holds his own.
And this is only tackles, is not like guards and.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
Oh well, this is
The
offense.
tackles always go highest.
Yeah.
It's the most
Okay.
important position.
Yeah.
Just to add to Darisaw, I think he actually is the most athletic in terms of like profile. He weighs a little less. He's all right. He's the same height as Sewell, but he weighs 9 pounds less, and he just looks like he has a little more muscle on him. Um, but I just don't think like I don't know, for some reason it just doesn't feel like he's as big as Sewell.
Hmm.
Well, I think here's the reason that I was seeing that Darisaw's lower than those two guys because the consensus top two seems to be the same top two we have.
Yeah.
And what I found was Darisaw uses a lot of his athleticism versus technique, and the other two guys have both athleticism and technique. And sometimes if you don't use technique against NFL caliber defensive linemen, you're gonna get in trouble.
Hmm.
Anyone
I
have any-
agree. I had Darisaw as my third. He's a great pass blocker. He allowed no sacks in 2020 and only 6 hurries. He's also a great run blocker. Runners through his gap average 3.2 yards before contact, and that's insane. 3.2 yards. Might have to get him on the Bears, but I think he's a great prospect. I assume that he'll go third overall in the offensive tackles, but overall, solid prospect.
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
I just
well,
heard he just lacks the footwork. That's just what I've
Yep.
heard, basically. I
Yeah,
don't
it's
know.
just some
Yeah.
some concerns with his fundamentals, but his
Mhm.
his athleticism and everything else is there for sure.
all right. Well, let's move on to our next group, which is the cornerback. So let's see what you guys got for that.
I think number one unanimous is probably Patrick Surtain.
For me, I love Greg Newsome. I think he just has a swag. He reminds me of Jair Alexander. Like I really want the Packers to draft him. And, like if they draft him, I'm gonna be so hyped. He
Greg
just has the
Newsome, bro.
swag.
The Packers
He's
pick at
got
the bottom.
speed. Hey, he might drop. Like,
Okay,
he's
no,
not-
no. The
Yeah,
Packers.
he's not-
He'll be available for the Packers, but for like number one.
Yeah,
Dude,
I think
I
number
really-
one, like Abdul said, is Patrick Surtain. I think the dude was
No, yeah. I was
for-
just.
for
He's
Alabama.
my. Yeah, I was just saying Greg Newsome's my favorite player out of this draft. That's why I'm just excited.
Mhm.
He's not the number one, obviously.
Let's hear from Jamil.
Yeah, one thing I love about Surtain is he's a Bama cornerback. And think about all the good Bama receivers we've talked about
Hmm.
from previous years and this year. Like this year, we're gonna have like two top 15 Bama receivers, and he's been playing against these guys for years, so he's had that practice against elite wide receivers. So that's something that I really like about him. And also, he played some nickel in college, so to have that flexibility is kind of nice to see as well.
Going off what Jamil said, obviously being at Bama is a huge advantage because he's playing in the SEC, which is the hardest division in college football. Also going against some of the top receiving prospects such as Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith, and then you also think about the success that the program has had with defensive backs. Some in recent memory: Marlon Humphrey, Minka Fitzpatrick, Eddie Jackson. The defensive backs in that come out of Bama are just insane, and he's a great prospect. He was a starter for the past 2 years, and he was the highest graded corner altogether. So I think that he'll go pretty early in the draft. I could see him going to the Cowboys possibly, who need some help in their secondary. But overall, he's my number one just because of that.
Yeah, I can't really add anything else to that. I think
Yeah.
he does a really good at job
Mhm.
at contesting balls. You know, he can read the game really well too, which is very important for a cornerback. It's the most important thing. But you know, I think the only knack I saw in him was sometimes he could be a little more physical. Like he could use his physicality more. He could impose his will a little more on on players. Um, yeah, but if that's like your only knack when you're a cornerback, then a lot of
Yep.
people are expecting you for success.
Yeah, I agree. So we all have Patrick Surtain as kind of like our consensus first person, and then Sol has Greg Newsome as second person. So who do you
Yeah.
guys have for your second person?
J.C. Horn.
I'm
JC Horn.
Jason as well.
I
Yeah, he
see.
has good fundamentals. I like him.
Yeah,
He
he has
reminds me
some
of
solid
Jalen Ramsey.
fundamentals.
I
He's
saw
got
some
size too.
people pick on him because he didn't have like the most interceptions or the most pass protections or pass deflections. I'm sorry, but that's what I found from what I saw is that's because many quarterbacks didn't throw to him or his side of the field, and that's just kind of what happens. And also, he has a very physical play style at the line of scrimmage, and when you're jamming receivers, they're obviously not going to throw to that receiver. So, just a couple reasons why those numbers are so low when you look into it.
That's fair.
It's the same as saying, comparing why Xavier Howard is not better than Jair Alexander. If the quarterback does not throw to you, then you're not going to have as many interceptions or as many pass deflections. J.C. Horn had 8 catches. He allowed 8 catches on 24 targets in the SEC. He is a true lockdown cornerback. He's a great prospect, and I can see him succeeding very much.
I agree.
Yeah, he reminds me a lot of Jalen Ramsey. Just like his
Yeah,
size and his physicality.
Yeah,
He just
yeah,
uses all of
for
that.
sure.
Yeah.
very athletic.
Yeah, he definitely plays very aggressive, which could also be a knack on him because sometimes it could lead to some PI calls. Uh, I think that the NFL is a little more liberal in terms of giving out PI calls, especially um, you know. But I feel like he needs to be a little careful about being overly physical because that was sometimes he showed that, and you know,
But
he,
sometimes
he
that's good. I mean, overly physical, that translates well in the NFL, you know? So
Yeah,
sometimes
yeah.
it's
yeah,
good.
He is good.
you can get in wide receivers' heads too.
Hmm.
Yeah, he
I
can
think
hold his
when
own
you're
against bigger wide receivers as well. Like he's a beast.
Yeah, he's a decent
I
cornerback.
think when you're overly physical, it's a good thing because the refs aren't going to call it every single time because
Yeah.
they know like that's going to cause backlash. And you've seen that with some really good cornerbacks like Richard Sherman. A lot of people talk about how he holds on every play, but they're not going to call it every play. So it's just interesting to kind of think about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
Omar, did you have anyone different for your number two,
No,
or
I had
did you
JC
have
Horn as well.
Horn? Okay.
Oh, yeah, I still have
I
Greg Newsom
actually
though as number 2 though.
I
Yeah,
have
so I'm guessing you have
Farley
that
as my number two. I
As
Oh,
well.
think that
Farley.
Farley and Horn are close. I think Farley has a lot of question marks, which is why he's not considered one or two to most people. But he has the best physical attributes of the three. He's the tallest, he has the longest reach, and I think Farley. Why I like him the most is very new to the cornerback position. He transferred when he was in high school. He played as quarterback, and then he started playing cornerback when he went to college. He hasn't played much, which is why I'm a little hesitant to put him at two. And so it's like the combination of him, staying healthy and his, lack of experience in the position. So I think he needs to go to a team that will allow him to develop into a cornerback and not just throw him into the deep end, because I don't think he'll do very well his
Yeah,
first couple of years.
I mean, he just needs to just learn more about the role. He hasn't proven himself like Patrick Surtain or J.C. Horn has. I mean, he needs to just play more snaps. I mean, like experience is pretty big, especially in the cornerback position, as that's a very important position. So I have Caleb Farley as my third, but if I were to choose between J.C. Horn or Caleb Farley, I would take J.C. Horn just because he's more experienced, and I just feel like J.C. Horn is just more of a dog than Caleb Farley is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've got Caleb Farley as my number three. There's concerns about him as he recently had the back surgery, but as Joseph said, he played quarterback in high school. He started playing wide receiver in college, and when a cornerback has played wide receiver, that's a solid sign that they know the ins and out of the receiver role, and he's pretty much shown it. He's been a great prospect. I think that the back injury concerns are not as much as everyone has made it to be. I think that he's not someone that he's not a don't touch type of prospect just because of his injuries, but I could see him succeeding very much.
Yeah, and I have the same kind of takes that all of you guys said about Caleb Farley. I mean, so no room for discussion there, I think.
Hmm.
All right. Well, any final points before we move on to the safeties? All
Craig
right.
Newsom got swag.
Craig Newsom got swag. All right.
I love it.
So for our next position, we're going to be talking about the safeties. I feel like this isn't really that strong of a safeties class as in this draft as it is for like the cornerbacks or the tackles or the quarterbacks. So I want to see what you guys have for your takes.
Not
I
very
think
much.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
I think
Yeah.
the number one guy that I've been seeing consensusly is the Trayvon Morig guy.
Hmm.
And then besides him, everyone else is kind of around two even.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
he's the only one with potential to go in the first round.
Yeah.
With the
So
Packers are gonna
I
draft
think
him.
I think he's just like the best safety. I mean, it's not really that strong of a safety thing in the draft. So yeah, Trayvon Morgan is the first one. Then we also have like Javon Holland and Andre Cisco, but let's see
Yeah,
if you
I've seen some others like Jamar Johnson out of Indiana above those prospects and Richie Grant from UCF, but it's not a type of draft where we have a solid safety prospect that's going to go top 10 like Jamal Adams a couple of years ago. Like it's not that type of draft. These guys are all seemingly round two and on type of players. So uh, I've seen some solid ones, not crazy prospects, but overall an okay, not great class.
yeah, I agree. I think Trayvon Morig is probably the best safety here. I think he's probably in a tier of his own in terms of the rest of the safeties. Uh, I think Trayvon Morig is actually like solid, like very solid. He can read the ball really well. He can track the ball, and he has good speed, which is things you want in the safety.
Yeah.
So my
And
number
he's a
two
good
is
tackler. Sorry,
oh
I
yeah,
just wanted to add that in.
that
So he's not just a coverage safety, so I like that about him.
yeah. I think my number two is Javon Holland from Oregon. He racked up a lot of interceptions through his career in Oregon. I think there are some concerns about his speed, him not being the fastest, but um, when you look at production, I think it's pretty important. I think it's pretty important to look at production when when you don't see a lot of safeties that pass the eye test. So when you're getting interceptions, I think that's a pretty big deal. Then I have Jamar Johnson at three. Um, I think he has good positioning and he has good ball skills, but his tackling needs work. I think both of those two need a lot of work to be successful in the NFL. Versus Trayvon Morig, he has a lot more tools already to be successful.
Oh, I
Yeah,
need. Yeah. Go ahead. My bad.
I'll just add it to Jamar Chase or Jamar Johnson, sorry, from Indiana. Is he's a really big liability as a tackler. In college, he missed 13 out of 49 of his attempts last year, and that's really bad considering those are college players and not NFL players. So he's definitely really good in coverage. It's just I would hate to have a safety miss that many tackles on my team because I've
Yeah.
seen that and it's frustrating.
Yeah, I've seen that a lot.
Couldn't
Um,
be us as Chargers fans when we see Derwin.
of course, of
Chris
course.
Conti.
All right.
Well,
Well,
actually, oh yeah, Amos, he's good.
so yeah, so we talked about the safeties. It's not that strong of a draft this year. So we'll talk about the defensive line as well. So I personally have Quiddy Payne as my number one. Let's see what you guys have.
I got Jalen Phillips as my number one. Just he's one of the most dynamic players in this draft. In Miami, he had 45 tackles, 15.5 tackles for loss, 8 sacks. Just watching him, he's one of the more. He's probably, in my opinion, the most athletic D lineman in this draft. And watching him, there's several other players on Miami that are projected to go in the first round. I've seen a couple others, but just watching him play is just insane. I have him as my number one, and then like you said, Kwity Paye. I have Kwity Paye as my number two, respectively. But
I mean, he balled out with Michigan, so he did well.
mhm.
I thought he was just he was sort of just like their leader on the defensive line.
Yeah,
For me, I think his name is
Go ahead.
Rosu. I know he played
Gregory
like one
Rousseau,
year. Yeah, one
Miami.
year in the NFL. Yeah, he played one year in the NFL. I don't think he's a great like run stopper. But I think his like upside is insane. That's why I like him the most. I
think
just like
Rousseau-
high upside.
I
Sorry.
think Ruscio had like 15 sacks or something last
Yeah,
year.
just insane. I think he opted out. Did he? I think he opted out this year. But like I think high upside pass rushers are just like that's why I like if I was like a GM, I would always just pick the high upside pass rusher.
pass rushers tend to always be commonly upside picks I've noticed in recent drafts because even Kwity Paye, I have him as my number three guy personally. He barely had any production in college. Like I think his best year was 6.5 sacks, and even his most recent year, he missed a couple games, but he only had 2 or 3 sacks. So, like I said, he's got all the athletic abilities, and that's why I think he's going to go high in the draft, and I still like him as a player. So, I think it's interesting to see, though, how much this position kind of relies on potential.
Yeah, going off of Jamil, I actually don't have Quiddy Pay in my top three because I just find his lack of production a little concerning in terms of not being able to produce a lot of sacks in college. I don't know if that will translate well into the NFL because you're going to be going up against a lot better tackles as an edge rusher. As Jamil said, he had 6.5 in 2019. He only played 4 games in 2020, but he had 2 sacks.
Yeah, I was gonna add. I don't know. Like I know Rashawn Gary, like number one high school, like prospect out of the nation, and then when he went to Michigan, he didn't get that much production. I think Chase Winovich got like more production than him. But I mean, right now, like Rashawn Gary, his first year, he got like what 3 sacks, but now he's like up and coming because I feel like if you want to draft a high upside pass rusher, you need like a good developmental team. Like you need a kind of just I don't know, just develop him. Yeah,
Yeah, I
I'm with
gotcha.
and I
I'm
can't
with
find the word.
Abdul. I'm with Abdul on number one for Jalen Phillips. I think that um, I most of his knacks. I don't. I think why a lot of people don't have him as number one is his injury concerns. Uh, he said he was retiring from football when he was on UCLA, and because of all of his injuries he kept getting concussed, and then he had a couple of other injuries. He got in a car crash or something. But then he went to Miami and he had a tremendous year. He has the physical attributes to be a really good edge rusher too. Um, if he can stay healthy, I think that he probably has the best makings of an edge rusher out of this draft class.
I think people are not. So yeah, Jalen Phillips is a solid edge rusher, but like you guys said, with the injuries, but people are not talking about the defensive tackle, Christian Barmore for Alabama. The dude's a demon. I have him as my number two on the defensive line. I think he's just gonna be amazing for whoever gets him. Just solid all around.
He's actually my number one guy. I know I didn't say that yet. but I love Christian Barmore. I just love how much power he has. In college, he was always getting double teamed. And I think he has a huge ceiling once he goes into the NFL to become one of those dominant D linemen that stuffs the run and pass rushes. And you don't see that much, honestly.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I love
agree.
Alabama defensive tackles. They're just always
I
just amazing.
Yeah, I have Barmore at 2 as well. I He has great size, and he's also like as Jamil said, aggressive, and he's explosive as well. Um, you know, he just played his sophomore season, so he would only be a junior, so he's a little young. So he definitely could be polishing up, but I think he has a lot of raw, untapped potential that could translate very well into the NFL.
I saw that they also played him on the edge, and I thought that's interesting because when you can move around one of your best pass rushers and get better matchups, that's always a huge advantage. I think he'll be mainly an inside guy in the NFL because of his size and speed, but it's still nice to see that he has experience on the edge already.
All right, yeah, I agree. All right, so let's move on from the defensive line position and talk more about the linebacker position. This will be our final position that we talk about. So let me see what you guys have for your thoughts.
Not very much. I mean, I've heard a lot about Michael Parsons as being a solidified first round pick. Him being great on the run, blitzing. He's a great tackler. I've heard a little bit about his character concerns recently. People just talking about like his character, his some anger issues that people have been talking about recently. But as a player, he's great. I have after that not very noticeable names. Jeremiah Owosu and Aziz Ojulari. But overall, I'd say that the linebacker class is not insane this year. It's not very deep, but Michael Parsons is a solidified prospect.
I've only heard of Micah Parsons. I haven't really heard of any other linebackers that much, but the linebacker class wasn't really too big in this one either. So I I have Micah Parsons as my number one. Some names that I've just heard people talk about was Jeremiah Owusu Koromoa. I don't know how to say his name, and Aziz Ojulari. So let's see what you guys have.
Um,
Um,
so I think the top two for this position are pretty set in stone. It's going to be like Micah Parsons one, Jeremiah Owosu at two. I think people are kind of sleeping on Jeremiah Owosu. He is insanely fast and physical. He hits hard, like a lot of player comps to Derwin, even though he's a linebacker. I think what happened, I think what's why a lot of people don't know about him or don't have him that high is he kind of he's a linebacker, but like he could not play linebacker. Like he he needs work playing on the linebacker position, which is why I think a lot of people knock him down. But talking a little bit about Micah Parsons, I think he ran a 4.39, I think, or a 4.4. You know,
Yep.
he's crazy athletic, and he can use his size to put like with the size and athleticism he has, he can play an outside linebacker, a middle linebacker, or a middle linebacker easily, and it doesn't matter which one he does
Yeah, I
because
agree.
he's. So I think Michael Parsons is the one for the linebacker. He's very talented. And
Uh,
then my
Jam-
third was Zaven Collins from Tulsa. He's more of an outside linebacker. He was very productive. He has good size. And then he had like 4 interceptions as well.
yeah, that was
Gotcha.
my third as well. He just, I don't, I feel like his only negative is just that he's not quick.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. Like he's very good at the fundamentals. Maybe not as good as in like coverage.
And Jamil,
Yeah,
what do you? Yeah.
Micah Parsons is my number one as well, and it's for the same reasons everyone else said, so I'm not going to repeat any of that. And then my number two is JOK. That's like what people call him because his name's pretty hard to pronounce. I don't even want to attempt it. Um, and I really liked him because he slot a lot, and I think that's why he gets some of those comps to Derwin James, like you said, because Derwin commonly guarded tight ends or the slot positions, and he did a very good job of it. He had one of the best grades according to PFF, so that's one thing that is super impressive about him. And my last guy is someone different than all of you guys says. It's Jamin Davis, and he's from Kentucky, and he's a total potential pick. he kind of did really good his last season, but before that, he didn't start a single game. So he only has 11 games as a starter. And what I like about him is he has the speed, the size, the length to be an absolute force as a middle linebacker. And I love going for those players that have the NFL ready speed and size.
Yes, good points. So I feel like, does anyone have any final points on the linebackers? All right, so we're gonna take a quick break, but stay tuned because we're gonna be talking about who the next Josh Rosen will be, and we're gonna have a quick mock draft for you guys. And we're back, everybody. So we're gonna start the mock draft, but right before, we're just gonna talk real quick about who the next Josh Rosen will be. So pretty much, who's just gonna be the bust quarterback out of this draft. So let's see what everyone's thoughts are on about this.
Personally, I think it's going to be Zach Wilson. The Jets, the people like to say the Bears kill quarterbacks. The Jets kill quarterbacks. Like the Jets, they had Sam Darnold. Who did they have before that? They had Geno Smith. They take in quarterbacks. They give them terrible situations. Sam Darnold had one of the worst lines. He had no receivers other than what was his name? Jamison Crowder. He had only Jamison. He had Robbie Anderson too. Robbie Anderson was kind of nice with it, but he had pretty much nothing. He had Adam Gase coaching him. Obviously, the Jets have a better situation with Robert Saleh as the head coach, but that Jets team, they haven't even won a playoff game in like 11 years. I don't think that the Jets they haven't shown me anything that they're going to continually get better. I think that all the other quarterbacks have better situations that they're projected to go to, but Zach Wilson going at number 2 to the Jets, I think that there's a high bust percentage, even though he's very, very skilled.
So what if Zach Wilson doesn't go to? Would you still think of him as a bust
Nah,
or potential
nah.
bust?
It's just because it's New York.
Hmm.
So do you think it's just any quarterback that goes to New
Any
York?
any if Trevor Lawrence goes to New York, then I don't think
But-
that he's gonna be like
but
a
that's
bust.
impossible.
Yeah, that's impossible. But Zach Wilson, just also him starting for only a year, like I think that he's a great prospect. But for him to go to New York, where they literally just chew and spit out quarterbacks as fast as you can think, because you go back to 2018 and you see Sam Darnold, everyone's like, oh my god, Sam Darnold is such a great prospect coming out of USC, and he was taken 3rd overall, and then now they just traded him for a couple of picks. Will the same thing happen to Zach Wilson in a couple of years? Who knows, but that's just my opinion.
So if you look at Sam Darnold's pro day throws, they look the same as any other
Mm-hmm.
quarterback on pro day throws. So
Mhm.
that's why I don't look into pro day throws too much. Like,
Mhm.
they're cool and all, but like I think every quarterback that's projected to go in the first round can like do a crazy throw, and everybody has a highlight tape on Twitter about it.
Mac Jones.
Yeah, it's true. Yep.
Did he have a
And,
bad pro day, Mac Jones, or am I tweaking?
He had one bad
I
throw,
think he had
and
one
that's
pro-
it.
yeah,
and
I
they,
think
they
he had
one
memed it because Belichick like looks sad, and then Kyle Shanahan looks sad too. But that's it.
Doesn't Belichick always look sad?
Yeah.
That's true.
So for I'm just going to go off a prospect and not base it off of teams, because I think it completely changes depending on which prospects go off of teams. But like
Yeah.
the highest bust probability for a quarterback in this draft, or for the top 5 or whatever, is Trey Lance, and I think it's mainly because of the competition and the question marks surrounding him. Um, you know, he he has good tape. He didn't throw an interception, but I just think that there's just a lot of question marks when you play a D2 school. And the only time he played against, I think, a D1 school was like, it was like his worst game or something. So that is also a little bit concerning. Um, I do think that he does have good potential. So say a team that could stash him on the bench, leave him behind a good quarterback, and then build him up. It could lead to good things, but um, just going off of like percentages and what I know as of right now, I think I'd have to go with him.
Yeah, Packers drafted him. 29.
I would also agree with Yosef that it's Trey Lance. I feel like he's probably the easiest one to label a bust because he's a potential pick. He's already expected to go kind of last or 4th out of the main guys. So I like the reasonings you said. He's a kind of one read then run quarterback, and I'm just usually not a huge fan of those guys. I know Lamar Jackson turned out well, but he went to a really good system, and if Trey Lance doesn't go to a really good system, I'm afraid of that he's just going to be a bust.
For me, I think it's Mac Jones because I just don't like QBs that don't have mobility. Like, you look at Jared Goff, you look at they're basically like just statues, right? And I think that maybe they'll do really good at the start under a good system, but once you like go on, teams realize, man, this dude just can just like I guess he can just throw, but I think in the next level, especially in this NFL, you need to move, you need to have good pocket. Like I don't know if he has pocket awareness, but you need to be mobile, basically.
That's true. You got to be a little bit able
Yeah.
to scramble decently well. For me,
Mhm.
I think it's Justin Fields. I think he'll be kind of the bust. I mean, when I was watching him last season, I mean, yeah, you can say that he was amazing 2 seasons ago, but when I was watching him last season, he did do well towards the end of the season, but like during sort of just like that middle end, he was struggling. He just had a rocky start, or he was just struggling. So for him to be struggling like that, um, I don't know. When I was watching him, he didn't shine with me like he did the other quarterbacks. So for me, I just think he would be sort of the Josh Rosen where everyone's hyping him up, but he's going to be just as fast as people are hyping him up. He's going to just crash.
I don't know.
So
I think Justin Fields I think he's flashy, in my opinion. I think he's like really flashy, and I think he has a lot of good attributes. People say he can't. I think he can't read or something. He only looked at the first option, but you can teach that. Like
not for
if you're
Mitch.
drafted, I
Not
don't
for
know
Mitch.
about Mitchell because the Bears are the Bears. They don't know how to develop QBs. So
It's true.
you need like if Justin Fields gets drafted to a good team that can develop QBs, like I think that he could be really really good because he just has all the attributes.
With the next Josh Rosen, I hope that whoever falls to the draft and turns out to be bad has another quote like Josh Rosen when he said, "There were 9 mistakes made ahead of me."
Same
Yeah.
Dwayne Haskins, same
Dwayne
thing.
Haskins had a similar situation.
The
All
league
right.
got messed up.
Yeah, that went like
The
4 or
league don't
5.
mess
I
up.
think it's the Lattimore. He's like, I remember everyone that was picked before me.
No.
So,
It was Jamal Adams, and he said
Yeah.
that,
Jamal
and then
Adams, yeah.
Lattimore replied, "Bro, there were like 6 people, bro."
Yeah, it's like, hey, what?
Yeah, it's goofy. All right, well let's move on to this mock draft. All right, and now we're back with this mock draft. So first, I'm going to explain who has the pick. So Abdul will have the first pick. Sulaiman will have the second. Yusuf will have the third. Jamil will have the fourth. I will have the fifth, and then we'll just keep cycling it throughout until we reach the last pick of the draft. So first, we're going to start the clock with Abdul at the first pick with the Jaguars.
First overall in the 2021 NFL Draft, give me Trevor Lawrence.
Oh, you're gonna have to explain this one, bro.
Oh, he is the best quarterback prospect. He is just his pocket awareness, everything about him. He is a generational prospect. Like other quarterbacks don't compare, and he is an easy #1 overall. No ifs, ands, or buts.
I agree. And the second pick goes to
Um, so I'm gonna pick how do I forget his name? I'm blanking.
Wilson?
Yeah,
Zach
Zach
Wilson.
Wilson. Obviously, I think the Jets need. I think they need an upside guy. I don't think they can pick someone like Mac Jones, where like they have a system in place. I think they need obviously a developmental QB with high upside. So yeah, I don't know how I forgot his name. I'm tweaking.
all right, and then the third pick.
All right. I think the 49ers will take Justin Fields.
Mhm.
I think that
This makes the most sense for them since they traded up. I think that they want a quarterback, especially if you're going to trade up that much. And I think that Justin Fields, his perfect destination is the 49ers because they'll help him with his major weaknesses, which is the pocket awareness and getting rid of the ball, which is like the 49ers' strength of getting the ball out quickly. So I think that will, it'll develop his weaknesses very quickly as compared to any other team.
I agree. And the fourth pick goes to
I have the 4th pick, and I'm choosing for the Falcons. And I want to go Sewell here, but I honestly think they're going to go with Kyle Pitts. So that's the pick I'm going to go for the Falcons. They need a tight end. He's a freak. We haven't seen anyone really like him. So I just love everything about Kyle Pitts, and they're going to take that potential.
And I have the fifth pick for the Bengals, and I personally think they're going to take, if this goes on, they're going to take Penny Sewell because he's just an amazing tackle, and they need protection for Joe Burrow. We obviously saw what happened with him with his injury because he had no protection, so he definitely needs a tackle, and this is definitely a good choice.
With the 6th overall pick with the Dolphins, I'm going to take Devontae Smith. So I'm taking this because Tua, who's a Dolphins quarterback, he has a great relationship with Devontae Smith. You see in the clips, he pretty much kind of recruited Devontae Smith to come to Alabama. They have a great connection. They were great years ago when they played together. They won a national championship together. Even Devontae Smith, he had the walk-off touchdown to win them the national championship a couple of years ago. They have a great connection. I think that Jamar Chase is a better receiver, but just because of the connection between the two, I believe the Dolphins will take Devontae Smith.
Good. And the 7th pick?
With the 7th pick, I think that the Lions are gonna pick Jalen Waddle. I think that he's the best overall wide receiver in my opinion, and I think the Lions need like a sure thing at wide receiver with the departure of Kenny Galladay. That's pretty much it.
All right.
All
And the
right.
8th pick?
So 8 is a little interesting. I would normally say for the Panthers that they take a quarterback here, but I think they wouldn't pass on Jamar Chase because I think Jamar Chase is probably BPA, the best player available in terms of you know, the other two quarterbacks. So I'm gonna go with Jamar Chase.
All right. And then for the 9th?
All right, and for the 9th pick, I'm gonna give the Broncos a quarterback. I don't think Drew Lock has what it takes to be an NFL quarterback, and this is a chance for them to get a good prospect. And I'm gonna have them take Mac Jones. I think Mac Jones fits the mold of what the Broncos are kind of looking for in their quarterback, and it just seems like the player that they're gonna take.
All right. And for the 10th pick, I'm gonna do Patrick Surtain II. They need defensive help for the Cowboys, so Patrick Surtain will be a definite help for them. And I just think this would be a good choice for them. All right, and for the 11th pick,
With the 11th pick, the New York Giants, I'm going to be taking Rashawn Slater out of Northwestern. I think that the Giants need help on their offensive line. You see that they recently cut Zeitler, or one of their veterans on their offensive line. They took, I believe his name was Andrew Thomas last year. They took an offensive. They took a task. Can't even talk. They took a tackle prospect last year, but they still need help on the offensive line.
all right, and for the 12th pick,
With the 12th pick, I think the Eagles will pick J.C. Horn. I think they always need secondary help. I think they can never nail the cornerback position, but I mean, you have to keep trying. I think he's very physical. I think like he's comparable to Jalen Ramsey. I know it's pretty crazy, but yeah, I think J.C. Horn.
all right, and for
All
the
right.
13th,
Yeah, with the 13th pick, it's an interesting position for the Chargers to be in. I think a lot of people would tell them to take a tackle in this spot, but I think that the Chargers are going to go for a more best player available approach, which is what Tom Telesco said in a press conference earlier. And if it were to come out to how this draft is right now, I think they'd go with Micah Parsons.
all right, and for the 14th pick,
So the Vikings are pretty interesting. I think they're gonna go with Darrisaw here, though. They have a really high-powered offense with two good receivers, a good quarterback, a good running back, and if they just strengthen up that offensive line, I think they'll have a really good offense in general.
I agree. And for the 15th pick, I didn't expect Trey Lance to drop this far, but the Patriots do need a quarterback, so I have them drafting Trey Lance. So he'll definitely help out Bill Belichick in that quarterback play.
At number 16 with the Cardinals, I'm going to be taking Jalen Phillips. You see, with Hassan Reddick, they don't have an edge rusher. They have J.J. Watt. Actually, they have Chandler Jones. But I believe that they're going to be going for a prospect to build up on their line.
All right. For the 17th,
With the Raiders, I think they desperately need tackle help. I think they have like a lot of offensive linemen departuring, so I have them picking Samuel Cosmi, just best available offensive lineman because I think they're desperate.
Samuel Cosmi.
Okay.
So I'm sorry. Now we have the Dolphins picking at pick 18. We had them picking Devontae Smith, so that kind of helps their wide receiver help. I think that they could probably beef up their line a little bit. I'd probably go Elijah Vera Tucker here. He's a solid offensive lineman.
Hmm.
And
All right.
then we have 19, the Washington football team. And I think they're going to go, if I were them and this was the draft board, I would probably take Najee Harris, if I'm being honest. I think they could strengthen their offense a lot by adding a good running back, and their defense is already solid. I was tempted to go cornerback and just make an elite defense, but I like Najee Harris here.
All right. And for the 20th pick for the Bears, I would choose a tackle, but the next tackle is available is Tevin Jenkins, which um I'm not really too high on him with the Bears. So I think the best choice would be to draft Rashad Bateman and then try to trade Allen Robinson for a tackle, and then put Rashad Bateman in his position.
Really trade Allen Robinson.
Hmm.
At the number 20 or the 21st pick for the Indianapolis Colts, I will be taking Azeez Ojulari. They need help on the edge. They have a great defense, but they couldn't really get to the quarterback overall. They had DeForest Buckner in the interior D line, but they really need that one key edge rusher on their team.
With the 23rd pick, I'm sorry, 22nd pick, I have the Titans picking Greg Newsome because he got the swag. I think that they really need a cornerback. I don't think they have a number one. I think Malcolm Butler, right? I don't think they have a true number one
Now,
option at
Malcolm Butler
cornerback.
is on the Cardinals now.
Oh yeah, then yeah. They need a cornerback, bro. Yeah, swag.
Yeah.
The
So
23rd.
with the 23rd pick, we have the Jets picking here. Jets are on a full rebuild, so they can use basically any position to get upgraded. So I'm gonna go with who I have rated the highest out of these, and that's gonna be Christian Barmore.
Mhm.
And then
All right.
now we have the 24th pick, which is the Steelers. And I kind of wish I saved Najee Harris for this pick because I think that's a better fit for him. But since I already took Najee Harris off the board, I think I'm gonna have them strengthen up their linebacker core and just go with JOK because I know they've been missing out. They have good linebacker play already, but I think they love having that elite front seven, and that will help them keep it.
All right. And for the 25th pick for the Jaguars, I think they sort of need that defensive back help. And so I have them taking safety Trevin Moehrig. I think he'll definitely boost up their secondary.
All right.
And for the 26th,
This one's a little bit hard trying to figure out what the Browns need. Give me a second. I think that the Browns, 23rd overall, I think that they'll go Quiddy Pay because you see that they recently signed Jadeveon Clowney. They obviously have a star in, I'm blanking on his name. Uh, what's his name? Number one.
Chubb.
No. They're star edge rushers. I don't know why I'm blanking on his name right now.
Miles
Miles
Garrett.
Miles Garrett. Miles Garrett. I don't know why I blanked on his name. They obviously have a star on Miles Garrett, and they have Jadeveon Clowney for 1 year, but after that year, he's gone, and I don't see. I feel like this is a prove-it-year deal for Jadeveon Clowney, so for them to build in their own talent, I think it'd be great.
With the 27th pick, I have the Ravens selecting Joseph Osai. I think that they need edge rushers with I think the departure of Matt, is it Matt Judon, the Patriots?
Mm-hmm.
I think so. But yeah, I think that they're gonna pick him.
So with the 28th pick, we have the Saints picking here. I think the Saints could
Go a couple of different things, but I think you probably need linebacker help the most. And honestly, I or linebacker or cornerback. I would either go Zaven Collins or Caleb Farley here. It's more of like, are the Saints willing to take the risk on Farley? So I think it may be safer to just go with Collins.
all right.
And for the Packers, I think J.C. Horn's still on the board, right?
No,
let's
J.C. Horn
see.
was taken
No.
by Soul.
Still took Greg Newsome, I thought.
No, he also took J.C. Horn, I believe.
I love cornerbacks, so.
Yeah,
J.C.
Ah,
Horn
yeah,
is
J.C.
12.
And yeah, I'm gonna go with my
Cornerback.
third guy, and that's gonna be Caleb Farley. And I think the Packers they're looking to replace Kevin King because they only signed him to a 1 year deal, and it makes sense to replace him. it's kind of hard to keep a player like that on your team after he destroyed your playoff run, in my opinion. So I think that they're gonna find a good replacement, and it'll kind of let him develop. Well, maybe not even have him start right away. They could still use Kevin King on that 1 year deal they got him with.
Yeah, I like that pick.
Okay. For the Bills, I'm gonna have them taking Jason Owe because they need an edge rusher for that defense. They are somewhat struggling on the defensive line, so this will help them out.
Could you go to the offense and click offense and go to the wide receivers available? Because the Raiders need, or the Ravens need wide receivers badly.
Of course.
So if I'm gonna go BPA on wide receivers, I'd say that my number one here is probably Kadarius Toney out of Florida. I think that he's shown what he can do last year in the Florida offense with obviously first round prospect Kyle Pitts. He's a bit underrated, but the Ravens, they really need wide receivers. Their starting wide receivers are Hollywood Brown, and I don't even think Willie Snead is on the team anymore, but they also have Sammy Watkins. They brought in Sammy Watkins on a 1 year deal, but Sammy Watkins isn't going to be their true wide receiver one, so I think they definitely need help in that department.
All right. So for the Buccaneers, do they even have a need to be like? I think right here
Quarterback.
they'd go. I think they'd go best available. Like I think maybe they need, and I don't know what they need. I think they just go best available. Like who's best available? Like maybe Jamin. Yeah, they don't. I don't have them picking like
If
They
I can
print
help
money,
you,
dude.
a player.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's a possibility that they would go with ETN. They don't really have a pass catching running back,
True.
with Ronald Jones not being the best pass catcher.
I think I do have him go because I think they or maybe Gregory Rosu because I think that they just need like really high upside or maybe yeah I think I'll just go Travis Etienne here. I think just need high upside. I don't think Leonard Fournette is the answer
All right.
long term.
So these are our results for our mock draft.
I
think it's a good mock draft.
hmm
I
Yeah.
don't like how I picked Najee Harris to the Washington football team, to be honest, but
I
Wait,
don't
can we
like how
look at players available or no?
I can.
'Cause I think we left some pretty good players. Like
We did leave a couple of good players.
I was seeing Tevin Jenkins available. There were so
Tevin
many.
Jenkins was available. There
One
was
guy I
also
like-
Gregory
Elijah
Rosu.
Moore, Rondell Moore, so many solid players that are still.
I actually think
Alex Smith.
Amon. You guys know Amon St. Brown. I think that he's better than all of those wide receivers. I think he would go next. I think he's just a
did we
beast.
even
Did we
take
draft
Jalen
Jalen
Phillips?
Phillips?
Yeah, that's what I was
Yeah,
saying.
I
Jalen
took
Phillips
Jalen
was not
Phillips
taken?
with the
Oh,
Dolphins, or with
What did he
the
pay?
Cardinals.
We forgot Christian Barmore, didn't we?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, we did.
I
No,
got
he was
him.
taken.
I got him
Okay,
for the
okay.
Jets.
That's
but-
why, yeah,
Alright.
he took Christian
Yeah, I
Barmore,
thought
so
he
I had to
dropped.
take Kwity Paye.
Dude,
I
imagine
thought he
Christian
Okay,
Barmore
okay. I wasn't
and
paying
Quinnen
attention,
Williams
to be honest, too much.
on the same team. Oh my
Yeah. Wait,
god.
I
That'd be
just feel
scary.
like yeah, I feel like Jalen Phillips probably won't make it out of the first round. Honestly, to be realistic.
The Jalen Waddle over Jamar Chase.
All right. So I have a justification for that. I thought Jamar Chase was off the
You're
board.
goofy, bro. You didn't even check,
They
bro.
just-
You would have made.
Yeah, I didn't know. Yeah, I would have. Yeah, I would have probably. Yeah, I would have probably.
Also,
taken
I
Jamar
really
Chase.
like Jason Owe. I think that he's really good. But
That's all you
what
like
team
with
did
it?
it? What team did you draft him for?
The Bills.
The
Bills?
Bills.
The thing is, I think Jason Owe is like he's a player that needs to develop.
really, really badly. He's
Mhm.
like he has like very good physical attributes, but he was playing basketball until he in college, and he transitioned into into football like very recently. So he has a lot to learn in the position. He's also pretty small in terms of weight as an edge rusher. He's extremely fast though. He ran like under 4.4.
I agree. All right. Well, that concludes our podcast for today. Thank you for joining in, and have a good day. We're gonna have a great podcast for you guys next time, where we do reactions for the NFL draft. So take care.
I hope
Take
I
care.
won't die.
Thanks for watching.
Take care.
Bye.
Peace.